Southlanders. Today, I am honored to introduce the speaker for this episode of Masterclass. Our speaker is the founding dean of the De La Salle University College of Law, which is the first law school in the Philippines to highlight human rights and legal aid as part of its educational program, and chair of the Free Legal Assistance Group, which is the oldest organization of the human rights lawyers in the Philippines, known for handling cases involving civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights. He has been practicing law for 30 years and gained prominence as a human rights lawyer and litigator. Though already well known in legal and human rights circles, he has gained wider public prominence when he ran on a platform of justice and judicial reform during the 2019 senatorial elections. He emerged as one of the leading opposition senatorial candidates, largely because of his connection with young voters, who made sure he consistently topped nearly all pre-election polls and surveys in schools and universities all over the country. Young Filipinos adopted him as their woke lolo during the campaign because of his progressive stance on issues, his advocacy for youth empowerment, and his witty remarks. Even with the elections over, he continues to engage with his children by serving as speaker for various events for numerous schools and organizations all over the country, with speaking engagements serving as a venue for continuing his advocacy for justice, human rights, and empowering the youth. Let us give a warm Southlander welcome to Dean Jose Manuel Shell Jokno.
As a student of law and as a teacher of law, I have been teaching in the law school setting for almost 20 years already, I believe, or more than 15 years. And also as a former dean of the College of Law. To me, learning education is so important. And as I mentioned earlier, we really should never stop learning because that's an aspect of our being human. So today I'd like to share with you some things I have picked up along the way. This is based on scientific research, on recent studies that have really expanded to me the way that we should learn and the way that we can teach students from all levels, from the basic levels up to college and even in the graduate setting like law school. So I'd like to share these things that I have learned with you because I think that they will help us all become better learners. Earlier, your president mentioned mindset in his opening remarks, and I'd like to focus on that. Because to me, learning is all about the mindset that we have. It's all about the attitude that we have towards education. The studies will show that students who have what they call a fixed mindset, those who do not believe they can get better even with effort and practice, don't perform as well as students who have what they call a growth mindset. Those who believe that their ability and their intelligence grows with their effort and practice. I will quote from a study, an article that I came across, which says the following. Students with a growth mindset work and learn more effectively. They display a desire for challenge and resilience in the face of failure. On the other hand, students with a fixed mindset believe that you are either smart or you are not. Sometimes we tend to have a fixed mindset. For example, I myself, I have to admit, when I was a student, I believed that I was not good in numbers. Talagang naniniwala ako mahina ako sa math. And it showed in my grades because I had that fixed mindset belief. Then of course it became harder for me to learn. And parang nag-turn off yung utak ko pagdating sa numbers and mathematics. I will continue to read. When students with a fixed mindset fail or make a mistake, they tend to give up. They think, hindi talaga ako marunong yan. So they surrender. These students who have a fixed mindset, they avoid challenge. They would rather do easy work where they know they can do well and get no mistakes, rather than challenging work where they know that they might fail. And ako, ganun ang experience ko. In terms of math, I really avoided it as much as I could. And because I had that belief that I was not good at it. What kind of mindset do you have as a student? There are, on the left side, I've met a lot of students like myself who think, ako, I will never be good at math. Mahina talaga ako sa numbers. Meron naman estudyante na ang paniwala niya, mahina siya sa sports. Wala talaga ako pagdating sa sports na walay talent. Meron din naman na think that when they fail, when they make a mistake, when they get a low grade, they say to themselves, mali na naman ako. I give up na ako, hindi ko talaga kaya yan. Those are examples of having a fixed mindset. On the other hand, there are students who have a growth mindset. When they approach learning, when they approach school, they say, effort lang yan and practice. As long as I keep trying and I keep practicing, it will make me better at math, at science. Basta kung ano man subject yan, kayod lang. There are students who have that attitude of being optimistic. Kaya ko yan. Unti akong gagaling. Kung mahina man ako sa sports, every day magpa-practice ako. Sa basketball, I will practice dribbling and shooting. And little by little, gagaling din ako. And there are students who have this attitude of being very open to learning. Na ang tingin nila sa mistakes is not a failure. Sabi nga ng mindset na yan, when I make a mistake, that is my opportunity to learn. And I should be curious about why did I make a mistake? Saan kaya ako nagkamali? According to the research, students that have a growth mindset perform better than students who have a fixed mindset. And that has a lot of implications for you as students and even for teachers as well as school administrators. In one study, it said the result was that they found out that the most successful countries in the world base their schooling and grouping practices on a growth mindset messages and beliefs. They communicate to students that learning takes time and is a product of effort. So kung meron sa inyo na naniniwala na you're weak in certain things, that you will never be able to learn it, I ask you to please reconsider those kinds of attitudes, because those kinds of attitudes will actually become obstacles to your learning. In my own experience, I only started to learn math better when my sister, who was very good in math, started to tutor me, and she started to encourage me, and she told me, anyone can learn math. You just have to keep practicing and keep trying, and you will get better at it. And sure enough, nung nagpalit yung pag-iisip ko, yung nagpalit ng mindset ko, it made it much easier for me to learn and to get better in that subject. In fact, there was a study made of grade school students in the 7th grade, in particular in America, yung mga minority students who tend to do not good in school, African American and Latino students. They had two groups. One group, they taught them how to study, yung mga study techniques. Yung isang group, tinuruan din nila ng study techniques, pero dinagdagan nila ng training in how to have a growth mindset. And what they found was that the students who were taught to have a positive attitude, to have a growth mindset, hindi na bumaba yung grades nila. In fact, it started to help them improve in their grades and in their schooling, and they became a better, and in some of them even became high achievers in school. And really, the key message about having a growth mindset is that effort changes the brain by forming new connections, and students control this process. There have been, even if I'm a lawyer, I don't know why, pero naging interest ko ang neuroscience. I like to read a lot about how our brain learns. Marami na rin akong nabasang mga libro dyan. And they have this term that they call brain plasticity. Na nung una, ng mga generation ko, yung mas matatanda, ang paniwala nun ay your brain does not grow when you become an adult. When you reach a certain age, hanggang dun ka na lang. But newer studies have shown that your brain continues to grow even as you get older, even if you are an adult. The more you learn new things, the more you will have better connections in the brain, yung mga synapse na nasa utak natin. And we control that process. It's not your teachers, it's not anybody else, but you, as a person, as a student, control that process of learning. And it all depends on what kind of mindset you have as a learner. Kaya especially when it comes to mistakes. Because some of us, maganda naman ang mindset natin pagdating natin sa school, pag nagtuturo si teacher, we listen to them, we're optimistic. But then when we get low grades in a test, when we get low grades in an exam, then we go back to the fixed mindset and say, oh nga, talagang mahina ako dyan. I'll never get better in this subject. But the studies show that students who look at failure as an opportunity to learn do better than students who look at failure as to blame themselves na, ay mahina talaga ako. Research has shown that mistakes are important opportunities for learning and growth. The problem is there are students who regard mistakes as indicators of their low ability. The real truth is that your mistakes are your opportunity to get better. Your mistakes are your opportunity to learn more about the subject that you are studying. In fact, according to the brain scientists, when students think about bakit ako nagkamali? What did I do wrong? Their brain grows. The connections in their brain get better. And this small scientific fact has a lot of profound implications for teaching and learning. Because what it tells us is that students and teachers should value mistakes rather than look down on mistakes and treat them not as learning failures, but as opportunities to learn more and to get better. In fact, it's not only you students who can learn from what I'm talking about this day, but as well teachers and administrators. For example, there are some teachers in other countries who teach math that they do when a student makes a mistake, they do not regard it as an error or as a failing grade. They do not give them yung frown na icon. Instead, they give them a smiley face, and their attitude to the student is, it is good that you made this mistake because now I can explain to you how to correct it. And that is how our brain grows. Kung panay correct lang ng correct ang sagot natin and parang easy lang sa atin ang subject, well, that means you have some facility there. But your brain will not grow as much as those who have to face the challenge and who make mistakes, who learn from their mistakes. Kaya nga, di ba, yung saying na yun, learning from your mistakes is really part of having a positive or a growth mindset. What happens according to the studies, if you have a fixed mindset, kung ang paniwala ng estudyante, I will never get better, hanggang dito na lang ako, it results in inequalities in education. And in particular, minority students, for example, maybe in our setting, more of the indigenous peoples who come to school, or girls, tend to be the ones to get harmed by having a fixed mindset. So the learning now, the modern view is that schools should be encouraging growth mindset beliefs. And the studies say that dapat ngayon na, dapat ang panahon para palitan natin yung attitude natin pagdating sa learning. The studies show that the encouragement of a growth mindset culture will require schools to move to grouping practices that do not send negative messages to students. I will tell you my own experience. Nung nasa grade school ako at high school, meron kami tinatawag na honor section. Lahat ng matatalino na estudyante doon nilalagay. But yung naging effect sa mga wala sa honor section, parang mas mababa sila. Parang ang feeling nila, I'm not smart because I'm not in the honor section. According to the recent studies, dapat daw mas heterogeneous ang combination ng estudyante. It's not good, according to the new studies, to label students na you're here in this section because you're smarter than other people. The truth is that everyone can get smarter. All it takes is the right effort, the right practice, and the right environment. In fact, dati, di ba, even in kami mga thunders, ng generation namin, ang pinapraise ng mas nakakatanda sa amin when I was young is, ayan, yung batang yan, matalino talaga yan. Yung batang yan, talagang may talent sa ganito yan. Which is, of course, natural, I think, for parents to do that. But, the studies now say that we should praise children for the effort they do, for the focus, their perseverance, their insistence on learning, and even their curiosity, because it's the students who are curious, the students who persevere, who have resilience, who tend to really perform much better throughout their education from low levels up to the higher levels. One of the pioneers of this kind, the one who actually wrote the book about mindset, her name is Carol Dweck, and she wrote a very good book. I have a copy actually of this book where she talks about how you can develop a growth mindset, and she based it really on evidence, yung mga research studies that were made in terms of how people and students especially learn. And she said, in one study, we taught the students that every time they push out of their comfort zone to learn something new and difficult, the neurons in their brain form new, stronger connections, and over time, they get smarter. On the other hand, students who were not taught this growth mindset showed declining grades over this difficult school transition, whereas those who were taught the growth mindset showed a sharp rebound in the grades. And she said, we have shown this kind of improvement with thousands and thousands of kids, especially struggling students. What ways can we use to have a growth mindset? Some of us naturally we have that kind of optimism. We have a very positive outlook to life, but some of us don't, and it all depends on kanya-kanya yan eh. But all of us can learn to become better and to have a better mindset. Number one is to be curious. In fact, Albert Einstein, that great scientist, he said, I have no special talent. I am only passionately curious. And if you want to be a good learner, you must always try to develop that quality of being curious, trying to find out more and more about these things that you're learning. Sabi nga nila, di ba? Curiosity is the best teacher for all of us. And if you develop that quality of being curious, you will always want to learn, because the root of learning is really curiosity. On the other hand, if you close your mind to learning something, if you're not curious at all, then the tendency is you will be closed to learning new things. Successful people are curious and they're always looking for new ways to do things, to really learn new things. In fact, under this lockdown, I think that those of us who are curious are doing better in the lockdown than those who are not. For example, ako, nung nagsimula tong lockdown, naisip ko paano kaya, I have never really been a cook. I never saw myself as someone who could cook. But this lockdown, I said, I want to learn how to cook. Paano ba magluto ng ganito? Paano ba magluto ng ganyan? I also wanted to learn to be a better gardener. So I started to read up and talk to people about plants. And it has made me learn new skills and it made me more well-rounded. I can say hindi lang ako marunong sa law, pero ngayon pati halaman, pati pagluluto ay kaya ko na rin gawin. So curiosity is really one of the best teachers in life. Not just in school, but I think in all aspects of life. The second way to develop a growth mindset is change your attitude towards failure. Look at failure as a learning opportunity. Lahat naman tayo bumabagsak in one way or another. We all suffer from setbacks. We all suffer from failures in life. We have no control sometimes over that, but we have control over how we will respond to that. Sabi nga nila problems will happen to anyone in life. Hindi maiiwasan yung problema. We have no control over problems, but we have a control over how we will respond to these problems. And the studies show that those who look at failure as a way of learning perform better, not just in school, but also in life. The biggest difference between successful and unsuccessful people is how they respond to failure. If you have the fixed mindset and then you fail, tendency is you will give up. On the other hand, if you have a growth mindset and you fail, you will not let it stop you. You will be curious and find out, why is it that I failed? What did I do wrong? What can I do better next time around? I will tell you, in law school, there are some of my students, when they fail one subject, their nagiging attitude nila, naku, mahina talaga ako sa criminal law, hindi ko na kaya yan. Next time they take the same subject, syempre, they also have a hard time. On the other hand, I have students who have a growth mindset. When they fail in one subject, they will really double their effort. Kung bumagsak ako last semester dyan, this time, dodoblehan ko yung pag-aaral ko dyan. And then they try to develop a more open attitude to learning that subject, and they actually perform better. Successful people learn from setbacks. We learn from failure. And they have a mindset that, as Henry Ford said, failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. The third way to develop a growth mindset is to be optimistic. Optimistic people see the world differently compared to pessimistic people. My father was a very optimistic person. And he always said, I don't know why, sabi niya, pero yun na talaga yung naging mindset ko. The only difference between optimistic persons and pessimistic persons is the mindset that they adopt. So if you tend to look at things negatively, then you will tend to be pessimistic, and that's not good for learning and generally for life. The next important thing that you can learn to develop a better attitude is to believe in yourself. And I think this is so important. Confidence comes when you believe in yourself, even when others doubt you. And believing in yourself is really a quality that is really good for not just for learning but for life. Hindi ko naman sinasabing magiging mayabang tayo, hindi naman tayo dapat maging arrogante, pero yung paniniwala natin sa sarili natin, I think that is a very important quality that we should all have. Because think about it, our life, our self did not really come from us. Our self came from God, from a higher power. And that power that created us resides in every one of us. So when you believe in yourself, you're not just believing in your body or in your person. You're also believing in the power that created you, which we call God. And of course, last, use the power of yet. When you fail, just think, okay, I'm not yet ready. I haven't yet acquired all the learning to pass this subject. It doesn't mean I'm a failure. It doesn't mean na mahina ako. It doesn't mean na I'll never get better at this. Rather, think of having the power of yet. That you will learn. It's a process. Sometimes it's harder for some people, but we will all get there. In fact, sabi nga ni Socrates, I'm sure you've heard of him, I only know one thing, and that is I know nothing. And when you know nothing, you become curious, you crave for more information. You will want to know everything, and your brain will continue to crave for that kind of learning. And when you use the power of yet, you will be growing your mindset in a positive way. If you want to learn more about this, there are many, many materials. What I am showing to you are just a few of the materials I have come across about the growth mindset. Because to me, it's really all about mindset when we speak of having a positive attitude to learning. But I'd like to leave you with one thought. Kasi alam nyo, I really welcome opportunities to speak to the youth because to me, the Filipino youth, you are our nation. From the time of Jose Rizal up to today, it has really been the youth that have been the shapers, the movers of our country. Jose Rizal was only 23 years old when he wrote Noli Me Tangere. So many of the people we look up to as heroes were young people like you. Si Francisco Dagohoy, one of those who fought the Spanish colonial power, was only 20 years old when he started his revolt. His revolt lasted 85 years. It even outlasted his life. Even more recently, during the Marcos dictatorship, so many young people fought for our freedom, for our dignity, for our democracy. Kaya ako, naniniwala talaga ako, I'm very optimistic about the future of our country because of you, because of the youth. My father once said, if we truly want to build our nation, we have to have two things. One is we have to have a national consciousness. Second is we have to have a national conscience. When we speak of a national consciousness, dapat maalala natin, dapat nasa isip natin yung sinakripisyo ng lahat ng naunang Pilipino. The sacrifices, the lives, the pain, the sweat, the hardships of all the Filipinos who built our nation. When we speak of national consciousness, we should also think of our brothers and sisters who are poor, who are needy. Lalo na ngayon sa ilalim ng pandemya, ang daming nangangailangan. The massive poverty and inequality in our country. And when we speak of national consciousness, we should also be aware of our endangered environment because that is your future. Having a sustainable environment is so important for you and for our country. But you know, even more than having a national consciousness, kailangan meron tayong konsyensya ng bayan. We have to have a national conscience. We must be able to call out people, even those in government who are abusing, people who are corrupt, people who are doing what is wrong. At para sa akin, the best people to be the nation's conscience, tingin ko walang iba kundi kayong mga kabataan. Because you have the dedication, you have the determination, you have the drive and the idealism to be the conscience of our country. Kaya sana, wag natin kakalimutan, let us all strive to develop a national consciousness and to be our nation's conscience. Again, I'd like to thank your president, all the administrators, faculty, and all of you for this opportunity to share what I know with you this day. Maraming salamat po.